Good morning, boys and girls. I have a question for you. I'm going to ask it first of the 8th graders, since you're right up front. But I want everyone else to think about this question. Where are you going? How would you guys answer that question? 8th grade. Where are you going? Where are you going? Going to high school. That's a logical, right, answer, right? Unless you're going to go out in the work world, but maybe not quite yet, right? Okay, well, I'm going to high school. Where else? If someone asked you that question, what else would you say? Where are you going? Where are you going? Think. What would be another logical answer? Mark? Forward, all right, good. How about more immediately, after Mass? Where are you going? Where are you going? Back to school, all right. How about this summer? Where are you going? Where are you going? Come on, guys. We need some more. Raise your hands, guys. No, raise your hand.
I'm going to Florida.
To Florida. Great. All right. We got a lot of good answers here. Guess what? They're all wrong. Sorry. At least, I shouldn't say they're wrong. That's mean, isn't it? Oh, you're right, but that's not the answer that I'm looking for. That's not the answer that we're given today on Ascension Thursday. Where are you going? Now we put it in the context. Let's see if the 8th grade can get this. What's the answer that I'm looking for today as we celebrate Ascension Thursday, 40 days after the Lord resurrected and spent time appearing to his disciples, and then he ascends to the right hand of God his Father on this day. So, now guys, where are you going? Heaven, yes, all right. Heaven, exactly. You see, we often think when we hear that question, where are you going, what we're going to do immediately, right? Where we're heading now, or in the next couple of months, or even maybe in our life. But we have to remember every one of us is headed to one place. We're called to one end. And the journey of our life doesn't end until we get there. And that's heaven. That's where God wants us to go. Now, there's a little story that I think I may have told a few of you before about a famous man by the name of G.K. Chesterton. He was a famous thinker, philosopher, theologian, apologist, and he lived about 100 years ago. Well, G.K. Chesterton was a very intelligent person, very smart. But he was a little bit absent-minded. Do you know what that means? Boys and girls, absent. A little like an absent-minded professor, where they have so much going on in their head. Teachers don't do this, do you, teachers? Right? You got so much going on, you forget things. They don't do that. But some teachers do, all right? Absent-minded professors. So he was a bit absent-minded. And G.K. Chesterton had to give a lecture, a talk, in a town away from his own town. So he got on a train and started heading toward that town. Well, in those days, and even today in some places, when you get on a train, the conductor comes down the car and checks your ticket and punches it. And that's what they did in those days. You'd have a ticket, he'd look at it, make sure you were on the right train, and he would punch it with his little punch machine. Well, the conductor comes up to G.K. Chesterton and he says, "Where's your ticket, sir?" And so he looks into his coat pocket and he can't find it. In his pants pocket he can't find it. In his briefcase he can't find his ticket. Well, the conductor is very nice and kind. And he says, "Don't worry, sir. I'll check the rest of this car on the train and I'll come back. And I'm sure by that time you will find your ticket." And G.K. Chesterton said, No, you don't understand. You see, I don't know where I'm going, and my destination is written on my ticket. So you see, he was confused. He had forgotten to find out where he was going. He figured he'd just look at his ticket and figure out what town he had to get off the train at. But now that he'd lost his ticket, he was nervous. Nervous because not only that he lost his ticket, but that he didn't know where he's going. We do. We know where we're going. And And it's not just simply back to school. It's not just simply to Florida. It's not just simply to high school. Those are good destinations. But every one of us is headed to our ultimate destination, which is heaven. Heaven, we are told, is that state of supreme and definitive happiness. And so, boys and girls, if you take all of the happy things that have happened in your life and put them all together, it doesn't even come anywhere close to what heaven will be like. It's the goal of the deepest longing of humanity, the Catechism says. So the deepest things that you want and desire, heaven fulfills all of those deepest longings. We heard in our second reading this line from St. Paul, "May the eyes of your hearts be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope that belongs to his call, what are the riches of glory." And boys and girls, that's where we're going. That's where God wants us to be. This is our destiny. This is where the train of life is headed. Now, we have a path to this heaven, to this goal. And unlike some people in our world who don't know where they're going, who doubt in the existence of heaven, who don't think there is a heaven or life after death. And there are some people who don't think that. Jesus tells us there is life after death. He died and rose again to be a living sign of what that life is. He goes to heaven, and as he says to us in the Bible, "I have gone ahead of you to prepare a place for you. Where he has gone, so we must follow." And that is what life is all about. You see, it's not about getting money. It's not about getting power. It's not about getting fame. It's not even about being successful. Those things are nice, but ultimately it's about getting to heaven. That's our destiny. Life, boys and girls, is a pilgrimage. And so, how hard you work in school, how obedient you are to your parents at home, what you do to your friends and how you treat them, all of that is a way in which you say yes to heaven. And if we're not treating each other well, if we're not being obedient, if we're not working hard in school, that's a way in which we're saying no to our destiny. I don't want to go there. So you see how important this day is. Ascension Thursday says to us, we've got a destiny. We've got an end. We've got a goal. And so, as we heard in our first reading, and I end with this thought, the angel says to the apostles, after Jesus ascends into heaven and they watch him go up to the sky, the angels appear to them and they say, "Men of Galilee, why are you standing there looking at the sky? Why are you standing there looking at the sky?" So boys and girls, look at the sky. Look above you. The ceiling, and we know the sky above us. Keep your eyes up there and answer the angel's question with this statement. Why are you standing there looking at the sky? Because that's where we are going.